Okay, so here's our water level control system. As you can see right now, the level in the tank is very low. We turned on the sink. That valve that you're seeing at the bottom right corner is now open and pumping water into the system. We've got the probes mounted through holes in the top of the lid. You can see the control box on top. It has all three of the same sensors that we used in the stream quality monitoring system. So there's a pH, VO, and temp probe hanging down into there. We've also included an LCD screen for easy reading. So you can come up, see what all the probes are reading, and see what the water level is using the ultrasonic sensor that's mounted right there. It will keep filling until it reaches a level that's 15 centimeters below the lid. Now as it approaches that 15 centimeter mark, it will shut off and keep the water level there. Now what happens if the water level rises? Well, we can't make it do that right now just by turning on the pump, but we can demonstrate it for you by tricking the ultrasonic sensor a little bit. So if we lift that sensor out and just set it on the lid, now it thinks it's 0 centimeters, and it activates that pump that you're seeing in the bottom left-hand corner, shifts everything through that drain hose, and comes out over on the right. Okay, Mike, go ahead and replace that for me. Now, we don't have an easy way to show you what happens when the temperature changes or when DO changes, but we can do that for you with pH. So as the sensor is reading the water quality, as long as everything stays within range, we're okay. In this case, we decided the range of pH that we were going to allow was between 10 and 6. So if it goes above 10 or below 6, it will flush the system. To flush the system, what we do is turn on the valve to fill the tank and turn on the pump to exit everything out. So we're putting in fresh water, and it'll keep doing that. Now, whenever it does sense a problem, it turns on both those pumps, which you can see from the LED lights there. The red and the green mean both the pump and the valve are active. So the water level will actually change slightly because our valve fills faster than our pump empties, which could be a problem. That could lead to overflowing, except we put in a control that says monitor water level first. It is the single most important factor. So if the water level's out, it will do whatever it needs to do to correct that. If it's too high, it'll keep the pump on without turning on the valve. If it's too low, it'll keep the valve on without the pump until we get within the range of 15 to 20 centimeters. Right now, you can see both those lights are still on. It is still emptying both. Now, whenever it does detect a problem with something like pH, it will keep running for at least 60 seconds. If you look closely at that LCD, that number right in front of DO that's counting down is a timer. That lets you know that it's flushing the tank, and it will not take any more readings until that timer ticks to 0. Now it'll check the system again. If there's still a problem, it'll start that timer over. So, if we clean off this pH probe and we switch it over to a solution that's 7, that's within range. So whenever it reads that, it should cut off both the pump and the valve. Now in this case, it's cut off the valve, but it's left the pump on. And the reason it's done that is because our water level is above optimum. So we'll go ahead and keep that pump running until it brings it back down into a reasonable level for what we would expect in our system. I know this part is about as much fun as watching paint dry because we're just watching water leak out of a system, but this was a tricky thing to figure out and ended up being really useful. Actually deciding that water level needed to be our key metric and the thing that we focused on the most took a little bit of trial and error, but now that we have that down, the system seems to be functioning exactly like it's supposed to. Okay, so you can see that water level is approaching where it should be. So pretty soon here you'll see that green light go off indicating that the pump has shut off, and then you should see the water flow coming out of the drain tube cut off shortly after that. So there's the light off, and the water stops draining. You can see that our water level is right at the mark that we set as optimum there on the side. And when you look at the LCD, you can see that all of our readings are inside of the range that we declared optimum.